Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of my ARK playthrough on the island map. This episode is going to be a little bit different from the rest in the way that I've recorded it. So I'm actually doing a voiceover today, and I played a couple of days ago. So it's going to be interesting. The reason I've done this is because I wasn't really sure on how I was going to be able to make this video interesting, so I decided that if I just record it and then I can edit it afterwards and deal with it later on and just do a voiceover instead. So in this episode we're going to be looking at building the greenhouse. I've been doing a lot of resource farming to gather like the metal and crystal that we need for the greenhouse. I've already built a lot of the structures ready to go, as you'll see in a few minutes, but at the moment I'm just doing a little bit more metal farming just to keep the forges cooking. So when we head back to the base in a minute, you'll notice that there's a lot more well, tools, should we say, stations. I've just been doing straight resource grinding, and that has allowed me to get things like the fabricator, the industrial forge, industrial cooker, chemistry bench, all that sort of stuff, all the basic stuff. And as you can see, I've just been stocking up on everything. So it hasn't been anything interesting. It's just been a lot of hitting rocks, really. A lot of stone, a lot of wood, a lot of cementing paste, all with the creatures that I've tamed in the previous episodes. So I'm glad that I finally got to use all of them to such extent. But there's obviously going to be a lot more to do after this. So I've already got the other tree platform built, ready to go in place. So yeah, pretty surely we'll be starting to build on that. And I did see this Alpha T-Rex on the hill when I was playing, and it did spook me a little bit. I wasn't too sure whether I should attack it or not. I did have a fight with one previously while doing a bit of resource harvesting, which has allowed me to get the Triceratops skeleton skin for my helmet. But that was only a level 18, and that took quite a while to take down with the RG, so I think I'm going to leave that level 36 there for now. At least it's still there after the video anyway. So yeah, I'm just doing a lot of metal harvesting here. I'm probably going to clear this all up and then get started with the greenhouse build. Alright, so here we are on the tree platform. We've got all of our materials here to build. Pillars, greenhouse walls, ceilings, internal pipework that comes with S+, crop plots, barrels, compost bins. Yeah, believe it or not, all of that, it wasn't even enough. There was quite a lot that I'd forgotten, and you'll see me crafting in my inventory later down the line. I've got some wall torches as well. I went with the fire. I went with fire lighting instead of electrical, because I just think it looks a lot nicer. It has that better ambiance. But I struggled a little bit trying to get this first bit set up here, because this is so important, making sure you get that first foundation right, because there's no snap points on the tree platform other than right on the edge, and I didn't want to go right to the edge, not with the foundations. So I've been trying to figure out how to get the best circle. I know how to do the circle. You need the square foundations, and then 3 triangle foundations, and then another square. And then if you keep doing that, eventually you'll come round in a full circle, and then you can just expand that for another layer, which you'll see in a minute. So once I get this set up, which does take a couple of attempts, you can see the gap isn't quite equal between the foundations and the tree there, so I'm trying my best to make sure that that is a good even amount. Just a little pet peeve of mine, really. I think this is the one. Yeah, this looks pretty good. So yeah, as you see, three triangle foundations in 1 square, and if you just keep going around, yeah, that looks pretty good. And that will eventually form a full circle. Now, I definitely think that the circle was the way to go. Obviously, I know the tree platform itself is circular, sorry. But you can obviously still build like square structures on it. I just think that the circular one looks a lot better. It does make it a bit trickier when it comes to the ceilings, especially slope ceilings. But obviously with S+, it helps a lot with all the different snap points. So that will aid me a lot in the building process here. So yeah, I think I'm just going to expand out a couple rings in a minute. I'm just deciding where I want the front door to be. And I think that's the spot due to the view there. It's quite a nice view, and not only that, but I'll be left with 2 square foundations by the time I get to the 3rd ring, which will make the door a lot easier to do instead of the slightly smaller triangular foundations. So yeah, I actually ended up building quite a few too many foundations, so too many, more than I needed, basically quite a lot more than I needed, which I will use later down the line in the next episode. I'll explain more about that later. But yeah, I think this bit I'm just going to expand this out. Nothing too interesting here, so yeah, I'll quickly move it along. Alright, so here we are. We've got the 3 rings here of the foundations sorted out. So I don't think we're going to expand any more than that. That is just enough. The idea is that I'm going to have some crop plots inside on the inner ring and the outer ring, which leaves the middle ring as like the pathway. And obviously you'll see that in a minute as the build progresses. So yeah, just trying to sort out at the minute the stairs for like the doorway. I'm just going to use 2 double door frame as the entrance. Annoyingly, it doesn't really come to a singular foundation worth for the door, so I had to go with 2, but it doesn't really matter too much, as you'll see in a second. But I definitely decided on the best view for the doorway, which I think is outwards towards the volcano, definitely in the mountains. Just looks a lot better. Now, this is a feature here. I don't know if any of you know about this, but well, some of you will. But this feature is in S Plus only. So if you was to build a stone structure, for example, like in the video, you can actually change the design of the stone to wood or thatch. So any sort of tier that is lesser than the one that you have built, you can change the design to, but I wouldn't be able to then change a stone foundation to a metal looking one. So you have to really kind of decide what you want to do there. So it's good for structure health, especially if you were to play on like a PvP server. You could obviously build everything metal, but then change it to look like, you know, stone, wood, thatch, which everyone knows just looks a hell of a lot better. Doesn't really matter in PvE, but what you can do is obviously change the ramps to stairs and the stairs to ramps and vice versa and things like that. So it's pretty handy to have everything a little bit interchangeable like that. But as of right now, I am building fence foundations, which is one of the many things that I had well, I had forgot to build at the beginning. So right now I'm just trying to get these fence foundations lined up in the middle of each section of the tree platform, and there's 12 sections, so it's going to take a little while to do this. But the reason I'm doing this is essentially the idea is I wanted around the outside of the tree platform some railings. Now, those railings do snap to the edge of the S Plus tree platform, but I wanted pillars either side, kind of at each point. So each of the 12 points, I wanted a pillar, and the pillars snap, but really strange, in a really strange way. So I wasn't happy with that. So I went with the idea of having the fence foundations along the edge, which don't quite bridge the gap between the sections. But it's not a problem, as you'll see in a minute. But that still allows me to put a pillar on either side and then railings between, which gives it just a really nice finished look there. And I used that first fence foundation, as you saw, which was perpendicular to the final ones on the edge, and that is just a guide to kind of help me gauge where I need to put the middle fence foundation here, for example. And then obviously once you get the middle one place, you can place the other 2 either side, which allows you to then put the pillars on the end to keep everything nice and square and even. So I'm just trying to work out where the middle is of this section at the moment. And I'm using those darker lines in between each log essentially on the tree platform base, and I'm just counting them and trying to work out where the middle one is. And then again, I'll put the fence foundation down as a reminder. As you see, I can line the middle of this fence foundation up with the ends of the other one, so it's more of a guide more than anything. But I just end up going around doing that on every single edge, which does take a bit of time, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that for you. But I do start putting some railings down and some pillars down in a minute, which does, well, eventually you'll see what I'm working on. So I'm getting towards putting the last sort of fence foundations down, but I have started putting the pillars around, which you might be able to see in the video there. Now, annoyingly, they didn't come to one at each point. because the fence foundations, when you line 3 up, didn't quite reach. But it worked out in my favor because I actually preferred the design of it. I thought it looked a lot better. But it did mean that I'd have to fill the gap in with another fence foundation to allow me to bridge the gap with railings, which I think I've already started doing on some points of the platform here. I think I'm going to work on this now. So this is it. So these fence foundations here, I kind of have to wing it and just go off, like essentially how it looks. I'm trying to match it as perpendicular to that main wooden beam there as possible, so that the railing kind of well looks as natural as it can be. So I end up going around and filling all these in, and then I just end up dotting in all the railings, and yeah, that's the outer. Oh well, the fence completed at least anyway. I don't think I've actually done anything on the building. I think I've laid the foundation still, so yeah, we'll get around to that in a minute. So I've finally put down the last fence foundation for the outer wall, or the last few at least anyway. And as you can see, the railing now, I believe, is complete. So I don't know. I think it's a nice little border to the greenhouse. The thing I wanted with the greenhouse platform is I didn't want anything too high because greenhouses can't be too high anyway, otherwise you lose the greenhouse effect. So nice little crotch shot there. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I think it's pretty neat. I did a better job than I thought I would, because usually I'm not the best at building. This is one of the more planned builds I've done in my time, so I'm pretty happy with this. But now I'm working my way around the main building of the greenhouse. So I'm going to have pillars just to highlight those edges, makes it stand out a little bit more. But the rest of the building will be greenhouse glass. Um, So yeah, annoyingly though, I couldn't manage to get a pillar on that corner, which is just really annoying. And I didn't want to faff around trying to figure it out. And I thought, you know what, that placement there, just slightly off to the corner, didn't actually look too bad anyway. So I rolled with it, and it is what it is. I'm not too bothered about it. Yeah, I'm not worried. Was it with S Plus? There's this feature, internal piping. Now I'd never actually used this before, so I played around with it a little bit on my other tree platform, and it allows you to put the taps that the water comes out of into the pillars, which is a really nice feature. So we'll get around to that in a minute. But what you'll see me do is place these things down inside the pillars, which you can't actually see, and that's the internal piping. And then what happens is on the pillar, or the foundation, or the wall, or the sink, because the internal piping can go in any of them, you'll get a little like a water droplet indication, and when it's white, it means that it's not irrigated, and when it's blue, it means it's got water flowing through it. So it's pretty handy to have. I think you still have to connect up those pillars with like stone or metal pipes anyway, but it just allows you to place the taps on them in a much neater location. So yeah, this is it here in my inventory now. That P is obviously for pillar, and you can get an S for square, which is foundations or square ceilings. T for triangle, which is triangular foundations, and triangular ceilings and sloped triangular ceilings. You get the gist. And a W for wall. So the piping can go in any sort of structure you build, which is pretty handy. And it's not just the piping either, it's also wiring as well. Electrical wiring. I haven't really played around with that too much yet. I probably will later down the line if I feel that I need to. But to be honest, there's not much wiring that you really need to do, because I like lighting all my bases up with torches anyway. The only area which I will end up lighting with proper lights and electric will be my crafting area, just so I can have better visibility. But as you can see here, I'm placing down the door frames, and my bird is just constantly in the way all the time. So I decided that this is what I'm going to do with the doors. I thought about getting like maybe a dino gate, but then the ceiling would be too high, and obviously you'd lose the greenhouse effect there. So I think the two double doors, although it's not as good as one, it'll work. It's fine. It's not so bad. So yeah, I just end up going around placing all these walls. I do them on the external foundations and the internal foundations, so they wrap around the redwood tree as well. Because then I think you have to do that. You have to kind of enclose the greenhouse to get that greenhouse effect. So yeah, it's just going to speed this bit up for you. So I managed to get all the greenhouse walls placed, so all the external ones, and then 2 tiers worth on the inside, as you can see. And the reason for that is because I'm going to slope the roof in just by one layer. So obviously the inside layer will need two till. And I've just put some pillars. I doubled up on the pillars obviously to match that second wall there. And yeah, I've gone with wall torches. For people that don't use or don't really know much about S Plus, wall torches, obviously, in a normal game, you'd have to put wood or thatch in them or spark powder to keep them alight. In S Plus, you don't need to, and not only that, you can set them so they automatically come on and off at a certain time during the day. Now, naturally, they'll come on at dusk and go off. Sorry, go off at dusk and come on at dawn on their own. But as you can see here, you can see the settings. You can also change the brightness as well. But you can change at the offset, but you can sort of delay it and or bring it forward as to when they turn on and off, which is what I end up doing in a minute. It's a bit of a process because you have to do it to each individual torch, and I think I have 48 torches in total because it's one on the inside pillar, one on the outside pillar, and then one on the outer wall pillar as well. So 24, 12, yeah, I think it's 48. So it does take a minute to go around and change all the settings, but it does give a really nice look, especially um, in the night lighting. Just yeah, it's a lot better than just the pure white that you get from the industrial lights and lampposts and things like that. So yeah, like I say, luckily I haven't got to go around filling up with any fuel. I just leave it. It's just one of my favourite features about S Plus, to be honest, is the lighting. Although I do wish there was a few more options, but the options that you do have are quite versatile, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now here on this bit, I've started messing around with the slope ceilings. So I've got the square slope ceilings and the triangular ones I think are still in the storage box on the tree platform. Now I don't know if any of you have, or many of you have messed around with the triangular sloped roofs, but they are a pain to get to snap in the right spot, even with S Plus. I've never actually tried building with them on standard game because I don't want to waste my time. I think I'll get too stressed because it is hard enough as it is. It's seriously annoying. You'll see it in a minute. You'll see what I mean. They just don't want to. They never want to snap in the right spot. It's always the spot you don't want. They always want to go down instead of up, and it's just really frustrating. So you can't do it from the outside. You've got to do it from the inside. So you've got to be underneath the roof essentially for it to snap. And I've noticed that you have to kind of step back from the wall and then look straight at the wall to get the right angle. Otherwise, it just won't snap into the right position. But after doing a couple of these, you do kind of get used to it, I suppose. It does take me a little while. You'll start seeing that I actually have to line myself up like directly opposite the wall which I'm trying to place the sloped roof on top of, and I find that that's the easiest way to do it. And then the other two ones, like that kind of point down, they just kind of snap into place. They're a lot easier, and then the rest of the roof goes together quite nicely. It's just a case of flat triangular roofs and flat ceilings, all the way until I reach the double greenhouse wall behind me up against the tree, and then that obviously gives you the full rooftop. Okay, so we've got the roof fully built here now. I was just flying out on the RG to have a quick view at what we were looking at. So obviously we've got all the wall torches in place now, creating a really nice orange glow, and the greenhouse, the frame, is fully built. Now obviously the hard bit is just making it function essentially, and getting the water flowing through it, and getting all the crop plots in place. At this point I hadn't actually decided what I was going to put in each crop plot yet, which is something that I actually did while not recording, and I've got a video at the end of or a clip at the end of this video showing you the full build. If you're interested in that, it's just like a 1 to 2 minute walkthrough. I'll add that on at the end, because all the crops have grown now, so it does look a lot nicer. I haven't got crops just inside either. I'll be putting a couple outside eventually, as you'll see. But yeah, I just fill the area in with the square ones and the triangular ones. It just takes a minute because they weigh so much, and I've got so many of them, so I have to keep only taking out about 20 at a time. You know, it just takes a while. So yeah, I'll just go around and fill them in. Okay, so at this point all the crop plots inside are placed down, and I'm just doing a little bit of exterior sort of decoration essentially. It's nothing interesting, I suppose. Just put some benches around some of the edges. Now Towards the start of the video, I mentioned about compost bins and keg barrels, or just barrels, whatever you want to call them. Obviously the compost bins for fertilizer, and the barrels obviously you need to make beer. Now beer doesn't really have many uses, but in S Plus it's used as a fuel for the gardener, and the gardener is an automation sort of mannequin, so to speak. And if you put the beer in it, it essentially collects all the crops that you have been growing in your greenhouses. So, obviously potatoes or savoury roots, rock carrot, was it sweet corn, long grass? I don't actually know what it's called, and citronella. And obviously, if you were growing any sort of berries, or I think it works with plant X and plant Y. I'm not too sure actually. I haven't tried that one. But yeah, it gathers all of the crops into the inventory and the seeds as well, so that you can just go to one place and take out what you need, which is just even better for S Plus, because where you can drag crafting materials over. When I go up to the industrial cooker to make some sort of some kibble, for example, I'll be able to just drag all the resources from the gardener, which makes life a lot easier. So yeah, that's why we're getting these. But annoyingly, you can only make one beer per hour in each keg, so that's why I've placed so many. So I think I have 10 in total. I kind of do one side of the tree platform has the kegs, and the other side of the tree platform has the compost bins. Now I think I've got 12 compost bins and 10 kegs, and I have also got plans to get some dung beetles in future episodes, but that involves going into a cave, and I want to make a video out of that in itself, because I don't really know the caves very well, if at all, to be honest, so I'm going to leave that for a little while. I will set up some cages, as you'll see later on, to have the dung beetles in, because you have to be on wandering to produce the fertilizer and oil. So I whack them in cages and then just put them on wandering. But yeah, so I have trouble here though with the compost bins, trying to get them to not snap, because I didn't realise at the time, but when you're reading it, the description of the S Plus, whatever you build, it does actually say press G to stop it from snapping, which I didn't realise at the time. I only found out later, and that just made me feel like an absolute idiot. So I went with the classic ones here, because they don't snap, and I just hated the sound. I just couldn't stand the sound, so I was like, no, I'm not dealing with that. No, thank you. I'll just figure it out. So I was trying all sorts. What I found is that the best way to do it is to kind of actually go in between the two walls and in between the two foundations, and that gives you more of a chance before it snaps on to the top of the foundations, and that just gives you a bit closer to the wall to close that gap, so you don't have an awkward bit between the wall and the compost bins, just so it looks a lot nicer. So yeah, here you can see that you can get closer with the compost bin to the foundation when you go in between the two, and then that is pretty much right up against the wall anyway. So yeah, I just end up going with 3 of them. Not so bad. And then I take another section of the tree platform around the corner here and do the same sort of thing. I just have to go make some more compost bins, so I don't think I've got enough. So off I go. So here I made some medium crop plots. I think they're not sure if they're S plus ones or not. And I think they are. And then I've put them either side of the benches that I've got around the side. So every other section of the tree platform has a bench up against the wall, just to kind of keep it sort of symmetrical in a way. And then either side of the bench, I've gone with a crop plot, and I think I've ended up putting long grass in it, which you'll see at the end of the video. because I couldn't decide which one looked best. I just wanted like a tall one that just had a bit more presence to it, and I went with long grass in the end. Hopefully that's the right choice. To be honest, I'll just change it. If not, it doesn't take that long to grow anyway. In single player settings, it's not so bad. But yeah, I just have one either side. Hopefully when they grow, well, I know what they look like. They look pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I just want to fill the space a little bit, otherwise it feels a bit empty. I'm looking at trying to get some sort of like trophies on the wall and things like that. You know, like animal heads and things like that if I can. Like a hunting trophy sort of thing. I think, I don't know, if I can't get that in S Plus, I might have to add a mod in just to make the interior design a bit better. But here, where previously I put all the internal piping on the pillars, this allows me to snap all the taps here onto the pillar, which just keeps it all neat and tidy, essentially, all symmetrical and sort of even. And they do, even on the outskirts here, I know the gaps may look a bit large between the two pillars, but they do actually reach that middle crop plot quite nicely, which is good. The range on these is surprisingly quite a lot, and not only that, it also reaches the crop plots outside, which I didn't realise till later. I was a bit unsure about how it would work. I thought I might have to make some more and put them on the outside of the pillar, so they could reach the outdoor crop plots, but I didn't need to. So yeah, it keeps it neat and tidy. But we're getting there. We are getting there. We're working towards it. I'm sort of deciding at this point whether I should just double up on the kegs and the compost bins, which I do. That's what I end up doing, just to kind of fill the space. And then there's that one area on the tree platform, I think here, which is right opposite the door, where I put the cages for the dung beetles, which probably won't be full up for another few episodes, but at least they're there ready to go. And then that gives you your 6 sides. So the front side is the door, 2 left sides has the kegs, 2 right sides has the compost bins, and the side at the back has the cages for the dung beetles. And I think there's 6 cages. I think it's 6 cages I built. I think that's enough. And annoyingly, there is a automation feature in S Plus where it picks up any sort of feces dropped by any of your creatures and then puts it in like the inventory of dung beetles and puts it in compost bins to create fertilizer. Now the problem is, with that you need propellant, and propellant you can't get until scorched earth, which is really annoying. So I'm not too sure what I'm going to do about that. I might hop over to scorched earth just to get some, because it would be really helpful if I could, because I don't want to have to keep manually putting feces in the dung beetles, because they can only hold 1 to 2 feces at a time because their weight is so poor. And it's about a 15-minute cycle, so I'd just be there all the time looking after them. So if I could get that automation, that would be pretty handy. But as you can see in the video here though, I have run out of wood, so it's quite interesting to show you how I get my wood, because in the previous episode when I tamed the mammoth, I thought that mammoths harvested wood. I had that wrong. They just reduced the weight of it quite a lot. So I ended up building a chainsaw. I know a chainsaw is from scorched earth technically, however you don't actually need any different materials to build it. I think it's just metal, cementing paste, polymer and electronics or oil, one or the other. So they're all resources, that's it. They're all resources that you can find on the island. And to be honest, looking at the numbers of wood that you get, I'm so glad I did it. I don't regret it, not at all. But this is how I get my wood at the moment. I just stand on top of the mammoth and whack the tree. It takes absolutely ages to knock down these redwood trees, because the redwood trees have, I think it's twice, if not 3 times, the amount of health of a normal tree. And obviously the larger the redwood tree, the more wood you get from it. So yeah, I ended up getting 7,000 wood there, which is, it'll keep me going for a while. But as you can see, as I'm transferring all the wood into the mammoth's weight, the weight is actually dropping for the mammoth, and that's because it reduces the weight of the wood by 2 quarters. I think it is. I think it goes from a stack of 100 weighing 50 to a stack of 100 weighing 12.5. And then when the mammoth is at the base of the tree, where all the, the fabricators and the smithies are on, he's close enough that when I go to pull the resources over, it's it does work. I haven't got to bring the wood up and then start building. I can just drag it from the mammoth's inventory, which is really good. So I just leave one neutral down there in case it gets attacked. I should probably build like a little pen, to be honest, around the two trees, just to keep any animals safe that I leave down there. But yeah, I've just got the building the last few kegs here. So here we are, at the end of the greenhouse build. Everything's pretty much set up, ready to go. Just got to make it all operational now. I'm very happy with this. I think it was really good. Just got to make all the crop plots, well, got to get them all seeded now and fertilised. But yeah, I'm going to leave just a little video after this on the walkthrough of what it looks like now. So I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.